Sean's coming. Sean.
Mesdames, Messieurs, je m'excuse de vous déranger. Je parle en français parce que je veux absolument ne pas parler en anglais. Je suis éloigné de ma propre culture.
Je comprends pas. Qu'est-ce que tu vas dire? Qu'est-ce que tu vas dire? So, Sean is currently seconded from the University of Nottingham, UK as head of school in the School of Modern Languages and Culture. So that's why he's speaking in French. You speak Konkani also?
Okay, Kideska. Ohayou gozaimasu.
That's my mother tongue.
Hindi no. Genki desu ka?
His academic work is primarily in literary and cultural studies. With Professor Christine Enu and Dr. Christopher Hill, he coordinates the Knowledge Without Borders network and in recent years has been exploring the theory and practice of transnational education. And very important for us, he was our point man in the university for organizing this conference, for which we are extremely grateful.
Before I begin, I was going to read out a long list of names of people that I absolutely must thank. I am going to take less than 15 minutes, and I promise to forward you a paper that will bring all of these questions together. It's been an extraordinary day, and we've heard many different positions, many different expressions around these themes of decolonization, leadership, and knowledge democracy. There are two words that I particularly want to take up from things that have been said today, and I want to catch two phrases. Changing the narrative was where we began. Somewhere along the way, somebody's brought up changing the rules. Can somebody confess to changing the rules? I think it might even have been Chris Enu while she was moderating the session. I'd like to add, perhaps, changing the disciplines to the way that we might talk about change in our conference over the next couple of days. And so I want to take as my theme for the next, now 13 minutes, two terms, change and relevance. And we can play in all kinds of different ways around change for relevance, relevant change. What you will find me doing in the next, now 12 and a half minutes, is an attention to language. And I'm very grateful, in fact, for the previous paper drawing attention to the soft power, or in fact, in this case, the very explicit and crude power of language. Because that takes me back to something that Professor Raju was saying earlier today when he brought up Macaulay's Minute, which is also something I would like to talk about at great length, but it brings me into where I really want to start today. I've got four questions. Why me? Why Nottingham, Malaysia? Why a mainstream university? And why D.H. Lawrence? So why me? Why Nottingham, Malaysia? Why a mainstream university, which is a question that Gautam asked me as I drove into the campus the other day. He said, why would Nottingham, a mainstream university, want to be hosting a multiversity conference? I'll come back to that. And why D.H. Lawrence? Because my title, Surgery for the University or a Bomb, very directly echoes a great essay of D.H. Lawrence's, Surgery for the Novel or a Bomb. And really the argument that I will circle around to today is around the value and importance of the arts and of literature and of creativity. And that however we conceive our relation to higher education, our relation to education at all, we have to embed creativity in the heart of that experience. So to get back to my questions, I'm getting a terrible echo here. I don't know if you can sort that out, Thomas. My first question was why me? In changing the narrative, I wanted to talk just a little bit about myself. All of us have been concerned with our positionality, our relation to these questions of decolonization. And obviously I stand like Christine as a representative of UK education, and I stand as a representative of a particular educational tradition. I stand, in fact, like Ahmed Kila, as somebody extremely privileged, even within that system. All of my education took place in Cambridge. All of my degrees are from Cambridge. And I've had a wonderful career that's allowed me to work in universities in America and in the United because in fact I consider myself radically different from Ahmed Kila, with all due respect, in that within that same British tradition there are working class traditions, there are migrant traditions, there are all kinds of rebellious and revolutionary and contradictory traditions, just as there are in every national identity. And so, as many of us have already said, we have to be very careful about these big labels, Asia, Africa, even national labels. This place, more than anything else, has taught me the redundancy of many national labels, where it hasn't taught me the problems of them. Southeast Asia, my colleagues are working on Indian Ocean transmigration. They're working on the Malay world. The Malay world in no way relates to the borders of the different nations in this area. So part of this decolonizing history has also got to be an attention to a trans-regional history and to trans-regional identities which are much deeper and are embedded in language and in cultures and in practices that go far beyond the very recent histories of nation states. But getting back to myself, I come from a very different tradition from Ahmed Kila in that I come out of a working class family. I come out of a tradition that gave scholarships, that was a period when there was a massive expansion of higher education in the UK, an expansion that is something that developing and emerging nations are now reproducing. I come from the tail end of the great liberal period, if we might call it that, of UK education, when education was free, when education was considered a public good, when education was something that everybody aspired